Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Noni Davis coming to you from Sya Academy. And in honor of my parents, we did an amazing play last week that commemorated my father, the late William Edward Davis, and his life and how he and my mother and I um, laid the foundation for our St. C Academy, which is our school, and we have been in existence for 30 years. And it was a beautiful nod to his life, and then the title was A 10 City Tale. Baba Tunde, and Tunde is my grandson's name, Judah William, uh, who and my father's name is William, and so it was just a celebration of his life, and then of course in Ifa tradition, um, a child who was born following the death of an elder is considered to be the person returning, and so Baba Tunde is what we call my grandson in honor of my father, and so this is also June. This is the month of my birth, and so I am decided to just focus on significant events that happened in June. And today I want to talk about Wilma Rudolph and Muhammad Ali. And then I heard about this amazing young man. Um, well, he's not young now, Bebe Bikila, who from Ethiopia, and how all of these people were also part of this 1960s Olympics. Um, but first, I want to just start with these historical events. But first, I wanted to focus on some legislation. I don't know that I was familiar that the civil rights legislation that we have um, started in, of course, in 1957. I mean, at least I thought it started in 1957. Um, it it began as the civil rights legislation, that's what we called it, in 1957, but it was signed by Dwight Eisenhower, who was the president of the United States at that time. But prior to 1957, the last civil rights legislation was in 1873 or 1875. And I know a lot of us know, well, that was during Reconstruction or following Reconstruction, but I did not realize that there was a Civil Rights Act of 1875. I was like, how did I miss that? And it was also referred to as the Enforcement Act, and maybe that's because of that. Maybe that was because that was the title that was presented to us, which was created to protect African Americans against acts of violence and protect all citizens in civil and legal rights and equal treatment under the law. But this law was signed by President Ulysses S. Grant on March 1st, 1875. Of course, following Reconstruction, the racists were able to overturn uh, the public accommodation section, which was that you could not deny, I mean, well, equal rights in public facilities, public spaces, and decided that instead they were going to give private businesses the right to segregate in 1883. So it took another 57 years after Reconstruction for the legislation for its civil rights to be readdressed or redressed. And so Kennedy won 70% of the African American vote in 1960. And so because he won so overwhelmingly, um, he decided, well, okay, I want to deal with this civil unrest that we have, and I want to be the, you know, create, go back, look at the civil rights legislation that started in 1875, and then in 1857, like I said, Dwight Eisenhower messed with it a little bit, and so he said, "Okay, I'm going to address the protests of African Americans as they pushed for demanded equal rights to avoid civil unrest." So this is what he decided to do. So on June 11th, 1963, he proposed a report to the American people on civil rights and gave rights to all Americans, to all in all with access to all public buildings, hotels, restaurants, theater, retail, stores, etc., and greater protection for the rights to vote. When you think about that, I know people were angry with him for a lot of things, but with this civil rights legislation, this is probably what took him out. I'm sure people have speculated on that, or, considered that that is one of the premises for his assassination. But definitely, he's revisiting this, and so in bringing it back forward in, let's see, 1960, this is almost 100 years later, after 1865, when we got the emancipation. Well, emancipation proclamation was 1863. Wow, so that was like 100 years later, I think. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, so he proposed the report to the American people on civil rights. All right, so um, civil rights leaders demanded protection, including protection for peaceful protesting and Black voters from police brutality and suppression of free speech rights. So this is what they wanted added to it: protection for peaceful protesting, uh, protection for Black voters, and protection for free speech. Huh. These are the things that they were still that we're still arguing and fighting over in this country. So legislation for civil rights began under Dwight Eisenhower, but was reinstated under JFK in June 1960 through June 1963. Interesting. Exactly 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, and then they assassinated him. Okay. I thought that was really interesting. And so now I'm going to go back to talk about Wilma Rudolph. So in 1960, this is still 1960. They had the Olympics, right, in Rome, Italy. Let me see if I can find a picture of Rome, Italy. So this is 1960, and this is like I was 2 years old in 19. I wasn't born in 1960. I was born the following year, 1961. But anyway, so we're gonna talk about. Well, let me see if I can find a picture of Rome, Italy first, so y'all can. So this is a picture of Rome, Italy, in 1960 Summer Olympics. So, Wilma Rudolph was born June 23rd, 1940, in St. Bethlehem, Tennessee, which is near Clarksville, Tennessee, and she was the 20th of 22 children. So her father's name was Edward Rudolph. He had two wives. So his first wife had 10 children, or 11 children, or 12 children, 11, maybe 11 or 10 or something. But she was number 20 out of 22. So the second wife probably had about 12 children. But anyway, um, her mother was her mother was oh, Blanche. Oh, I can't remember. I think I can't read what I wrote here. Her father was a Pullman porter. He worked on the railroad, and her mother was a maid. So Mama Wilma's story is fascinating because, and I read the story to the kids a few weeks ago, and they were like just amazed at this little girl. So this is Mama Wilma when she was a little girl. She's such a cutie pie. All right. So apparently, when she was about 5 years old, she developed she was plagued with an illness from the age of like 5 through age 12. So she contracted infantile paralysis, which caused an impairment in her left leg, and she was forced to wear a leg brace for 7 years. Um, Much of her delayed recovery was due to, of course, we're in the 1930s. The African Americans do not. I mean, African Americans have hospitals. Meharry Hospital, but that was like 50 miles away from her family. And you also have white hospitals. White hospitals did not take African American client. African Americans at that time. And then also, she lives in a very rural community, so there wouldn't have been a lot of hospitals in rural communities, no matter whether you were black or white. European Americans, poor white people need to remember that they were not looking out for you in the byways. So everybody was, if you were poor and black or Native American or something, you did not have access to medical treatment. And so the stupidity of racism was the reason why she had such a hard time. Oh, and classism, like I said, particularly medical treatment and access. So her mother had to take her to the hospital. I think they said weekly. She had to have weekly visits, and her mother had to catch a bus, a 50-mile trip there and back. Can you imagine having to travel a round trip of 100 miles back in that time? Because that would be a lot for us even in this time. And you're having to catch the bus, and it's hot, and oh my god, and you're having to sit at the back of the bus because it's the 1930s. Like, Lord have mercy. But she did go to Nashville, Tennessee, Meharry Medical College, for her treatment. Her mother took her on weekly trips. For 7 years, she had to take these. And her family members also created home health care practices, such as leg massages. So her parents could not just depend on they got the medicine from the doctor and they did everything they said there. But then her family, all her family members, she said the whole group of them, took turns massaging her legs back, uh, um, you know, giving her, healing her leg, basically restoring her leg to its former self. So eventually, this woman was able to walk. So around when she was 12 years old, she was able to take the brace off. And in the story that I told my students, she had to uh, she went to church that particular Sunday morning, and she waited outside. She didn't go in with everybody else. She took off her brace, and she waited to a certain time during the service, and then she walked in without her brace to into the church service. And the congregation was amazed, and of course it was the singing, the praise and worship was amazing, because they're like, oh, we're witnessing something that we never thought, or we didn't know for sure whatever, that she would be restored completely to be able to run. But not only did Mama Wilma Rudolph recover fully at 12, she went on to high school as forfeit while she had to be homeschooled, because she could not, uh, you know, get walk back and forth to school. That was too much, and so she had to, in most of her younger years were at home, but she was able to finally go back. This girl turned out to be a super amazing athlete. So she played uh, basketball for her high school, and she was an exceptional athlete. But what the coach, I don't think I put his name. Did I put his name down? Oh, yes. So she was recruited to attend college at Tennessee State University by Coach Ed Temple for track and field, because they were like, this girl could take that ball down the court at a speed that they thought was unbelievable at that time. And so Mama was Mama Wilma was 16 years old when she qualified for the 1956 Summer Olympics in Melbourne, Australia. Can you imagine now? 4 years before that, she was wearing a brace and got out of the brace. 12. 16, she's competing in the Olympics. And that's just amazing. And they had and she had a nickname. Her nickname was Skeeter. I think that's the cutest thing. And so she was the youngest member of the US track and field team at age 16. And so let me show you some of these pictures. I was like, go on, girl. What in the world? And so just a cutie pie. This is oh, So this is her USA Olympics, Miss Wilma Rudolph, and so 4 years. Oh, she won a bronze medal at 16 in the 400 meter relay. 4 years later, she competed in Rome, Italy, and this chick won 3 gold medals. 3 gold medals. Can you imagine going from ages 5 to 12 for 7 years wearing a brace, and now you are an Olympic champion? Maybe the brace made her feel heavy, and when she got it off, she felt like, I don't know. It's like unbelievable that she was able to accomplish this, and so she tied the world record for the 100-meter semifinals with a world record of 11.3 seconds. One world record. Number two, she broke the Olympic record in the 200-meter dash, 23.2 seconds, and claimed another gold medal with 24 seconds. Okay. Three, she won the 400-meter relay with a world record of 44.4 seconds. So she broke 3 world records at the age of 20. And that is just unbelievable that she was the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in the track and field at a single Olympic Games. Hmm. So Mama Wilma, at the age of 20, became the most popular international superstar of her time. Hmm. And several books have been written about her life. She was also in a movie. There was a whole TV movie that was about her life. I think I'm going to go back and look at that. She made several media appearances, and she was on television and all of this. She was the fastest woman in track and established a legacy. When you consider the legacy that she established with all these black women coming before her, even today, we are still breaking records in the Olympics. And so that was her legacy. Oh my God. And so that was her. That was Mama Wilma Rudolph. Now I want to go on to another significant June event that happened on June 20th, 1967. This was Muhammad Ali. Now, before I go to that, I want to go back over here. Muhammad Ali was born January 17th, 1942. He was a January baby, not a June baby. Okay. But in Louisville, Kentucky. And he was born, we all know, Cassius Clay, Marcellus Clay Jr., and started boxing at the age of 12 years old. So he started his athletic career at the same age as Mama Wilma. Like Mama Wilma, he also won a gold medal in the 1960 Olympics in Rome, Italy. I was like, I didn't know that Wilma Rudolph and Muhammad Ali were both representing the United States in 1960. There's Muhammad Ali. Let me see. I'm going to go find his when he was, okay, this is a picture of him at the Olympics. Look at that young, handsome man. Woo woo. And this is another picture of him in the ring, number 1 in the Olympics. So I was like, oh, I didn't know that he was there too. Oh, I forgot. This is a picture of Mama Wilma. Here she is in the relay. So and now she's a June baby. Her birthday's the day after mine. But anyway, back to Muhammad Ali. So Muhammad Ali was fascinated the world with his self confidence, and we all know he was braggadocious. I was a little girl when he was out here boxing and fighting and doing his thing, and also his ability. They said once as he matured as a boxer, he could predict what round he was going to knock somebody out, and a lot of times his predictions came true. He said, "I'm gonna take you down round 5, boom, boom, boom." Down 5. So he was amazing. But what was problematic for him was he didn't give a damn on what nobody else said, and so he was that one of those figures during Black civil rights movement who empowered so many. I remember being a little girl in there making, and we were hearing I'm black and I'm proud and all of that. And Muhammad Ali was that one of those figures that made you say, yes, he and Malcolm X, and you had James Brown song, and yeah, Angela Davis. And so I grew up with these people as the elders, or not, well, the young adults who were influencing my generation. And my dad loved him. So he defeated several major boxers, including Sonny Liston, Floyd Patterson, George Chuvalo, and Henry Cooper, Brian London, and and Cleveland Williams. But they also beat him too. There were five of these people. Also, I think it was Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Leon Spinks, Larry Holmes, and Trevor Burbank, who he beat them, and then at a later point they beat him. But out of 56 matches, out of 61 matches, he only lost 5. And so he won 56 of them. And the 5 people who beat him were the Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Leon Spinks, Larry Holmes, and Trevor Burbank. Muhammad Ali died on June 3rd, so he transitioned also in June 2016, and he inspired African Americans like me and my family to embrace, love, celebrate our blackness, and do it unapologetically. And so now back to what happened in June, the other thing that happened in June. So on June 20th, 1967, he was convicted. Muhammad Ali was convicted in a Houston federal court of violating the Selective Service Act for refusing to be inducted into the armed service. So he was fined $10,000, and he was given a 5-year prison sentence. And he was banned from boxing. And I mean, I know we saw they had a movie about him, um, and how traumatizing this was for his family, how it almost destroyed him financially, but he refused to yield, and he's like, okay. But the reason Muhammad Ali refused to enlist was because of his religious beliefs, which were he had converted to the Nation of Islam. So he was practicing Islam, and according to that, he said a Muslim could not participate in a war that was not sanctioned or in alignment with Allah's will. And he stated that I think, what does he say? He said no Vietnamese a person had ever called him the N word, so why should he be like fight with them? He said, I don't have no problems with the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong. And he said, that's y'all. And so he said they were not his enemy, and he was not going to go over there and fight. He said, I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong. He also believed that African Americans should not be required to fight in a war for a country that did not acknowledge their humanity. And but fortunately for Baba Muhammad Ali, he was not imprisoned. And in 1971, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously in his favor. So they said, all right, we see, oh, this is him receiving his gold medal. And we saw the previous picture with him. And I'm trying to think, do I have any other pictures of him? Oh yeah, this is one where he knocked somebody out, as you can see. And he called himself the greatest. That was his nickname. That was hilarious too. He called himself the greatest. That was his nickname. I was like, boy, you ain't playing with nobody. And so his conscience that the Supreme Court overturned, uh, well, ruled unanimously in his favor in 1971, saying that he had a right, his right to conscientiously object to this war based on his religious beliefs should have been honored and respected. And so he did not have to go to jail, and he did not lose his now, I think he was eventually able to go back. Of course, he was. He was able to go back and start fighting again. But that was a very tumultuous time that he had to go through. And so, the last person I wanted to talk about was this man who just happened to be, as I was doing one thing, I learned about another guy. Uh, he was also in the Olympics, and this is Belly Bikila. Belly Bikila. I'll pull that up. And he was also in the Olympics in 1960. And what's interesting about him is that he wanted to run in the Olympics um, uh, for Ethiopia, because he's from Ethiopia. And his they said his reported personal best time in the marathon, because Ethiopians be not they not playing with these marathons. They're not playing. Ethiopian women and Ethiopian men. I think it's also Kenyan women. Some maybe people who live like in Peru or in these mountainous regions. They be coming out here and killing us on these marathons. But he wanted to participate in the Olympics in summer of 1960, but his request was rejected because he was faster than the world record. And so I'm like, well, if he's faster than the world record, what's the point? So they didn't even want him to come. They're like, no, you can't come. But and so he was passed over in favor of another guy. But this guy who he was passed over for broke his ankle. And so playing football and probably playing soccer. So what happened is that Abebe, uh, who was enlisted in Haile Selassie's army, was Imperial Army, was chosen for the team only as a last minute replacement. And so he gets over there to Rome and has a hard time running in shoes. So he was running in these sneakers and they were giving him blisters. And so he was like, I can't do this. And so he was like, I'm going to run barefoot. And that's what he was accustomed to doing, because in Ethiopia, that's what he was doing. He was running barefoot. He was extremely thin. They said he only weighed about 57 kilograms, and I don't know what the conversion of that is to, because we over here doing pounds. We behind the rest of the world. 57 kilograms, uh, kilos, kilos equals in pounds. Okay, so that means he was 125 pounds. He was just a little guy. But anyway, so he was only 125 pounds and 1.78 meters. So he used a little bit. Whew, at 1.78 meters, what is that? I think that's like over. He was about a little bit less than 6 feet. Let's see, 1.78 meters. Where's the point? 0.78 meters to feet equals 5 foot 8 inches. So he was a little over. He wasn't quite. Yeah, he was about only 5 to 8, 5'8". So he was a short guy, and 125 pounds. So he was very little. Anyway, so this dude uh, ran a 42-kilometer race, and it was a Bebe and a Moroccan guy named Radi Ben. They got mountains over there too, and they said he finished the race with a time of 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 16 seconds, and set another world record. So we have three black people. Now, I don't even know. I need to go look at how many records did African Americans set in the Olympics because this is crazy. So we have, and he ran it barefooted. So we have uh, Wilma Rudolph, we have Adebe Bikila, and then we have Muhammad Ali. All three of these were world champions at the 1960 Olympics, the year before I was born. I was like, okay. And of course, we had the legislation.
Just had all that victories and everything. Did you know that back in I think it was the '70s or something like that, we had
Uh-huh.
it was a Pan African game at Duke and everything like that. And I
Yes.
remember going to the game and everything like that because they actually divided the race into black and white and everything because this was during the end of the civil rights struggle and everything like that. So I want to say
Uh-huh.
like around '72 or something like that, but it was a
Uh-huh.
Pan African game that was taking place at but is now I think it was at Wallace Wade or something like that. But I remember going with I think it was my uncle and my aunt, and we watched
I
the
was
game.
there. My
You
daddy
were
was there. We were there.
there?
You said Chapel Hill, right? Durham.
It
It was
was
in
in Durham. It was in
yeah,
Durham, right? And
yeah, yeah.
it was like a Pan African game. So it was both to be African countries against American countries. But somebody that was probably involved in the civil rights struggle decided to make it white against black. And the contest wasn't much of a contest because black against white. I think they might have had a couple of javelin contestants and maybe a couple of shot putters that might have won. But the score was some ridiculous amount of victory for the black contestants versus white contestants. Because I think they put that. Scoreboard in the middle of the field because the regular field was showing
Right,
the
right,
regular
right, right.
score, the regular score like the African nations and America and stuff like that. But I think somebody put in the middle of the field another scoreboard, and that was like black against white. And like I said, it wasn't much of a contest.
Oh, oh no, oh no, oh no. I am convinced. This is probably very racist of me, but I'm convinced that a lot of these white women are marrying these black men so they can have these amazing athletic children. Because I keep seeing this. I'm like, look at these children. They out here doing all this athletic stuff. I mean, amazing athletes. And I don't know, that could be wrong, but I'm like, it's a lot of y'all out here. Huh.
It'd be interesting to find out what the true history is of Candace Clark's lineage and everything like that is because, like I said, she's been hooping in the basketball court, so maybe she's got some ancestry that she's not telling us about and everything like that.
Well, I don't know if you've seen that young man who plays volleyball, and his
Mhm.
dad is black, and then there's another girl who's a gymnast, and her mother is white, her father is black, and I'm like, I keep seeing the same pattern here, and I know a lot of basketball players are like that too.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting, but to
And
think,
like you said, we get into every kind of sport because I know that there are. I don't know whether Vegas has any, but I know there are definitely two brothers that play for the Hurricanes because Chatfield is actually known as a defensive stotsman. He's actually known as one of their top defense players, and even the
yeah,
stars of the show, like Aho and others, give him credit for a lot of his work that he does. So they even recognize that he is a major force on the defensive end and
I'm
everything.
telling you. And but but we're DEI, and
Hell
I
yeah.
don't know what these other people are. 'Cause but we are an amazing people. We are so. It's incredible. That girl was Wilma Rudolph had a brace on her leg for 7 years, and gets off that brace and becomes the fastest person in the world. What
Yeah.
fastest?
And then we had people up the north because I mean this is the time that the I think French Open is going on, but we cannot forget the great legends, not just the ones that are playing now like Serena and Venus, but even back in the
Althea
day
Gibson.
like Althea Gibson and Arthur Ashe, who were from
Yeah.
Richmond and everything like that. So
Hey,
definitely there's a lot of great sports that we've been
poor
involved in.
people,
Sports,
people that had no money,
no money.
just had skills,
Had
skills.
skills and find a net, find an old ragged net. I remember
I
when I
mean,
was growing up in
absolutely.
Warrenton, me and a buddy of mine, he's passed many decades ago and everything like that, but we would go play pickup games of tennis, but that was like near I think it was the tennis court was near a railroad track, but yeah, it was not a pretty track, pretty
No,
court at all.
no, no, no. And now a lot of times, like when I was teaching, almost all of the instructors. I'm not saying there were no white ones, but a lot of the instructors are black people.
Oh yeah.
A lot of us are a lot of the instructors are black people.
I mean,
So
there's a whole black tennis club. I know my buddy, I think his name is Maurice Darden, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. But he was involved in the black tennis club that is here. So there's a black tennis club that's been around
right.
for
Oh
decades and
yeah, I
everything
was,
like that. And of course, the Algonquin Club. But I'm talking about this is a more recent club. I mean, it's not that recent, but it's more recent than the Algonquin and everything
yeah,
like that. Of course,
yeah,
you got
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah,
we had
and then
it.
you got like the Durham Striders, and of course you talk about track, and I do remember there was even some African runners that ran at Central when Central had those great track teams and
I tell
everything
you,
like that.
I tell you, and you know it's crazy. I now went to. I'll never forget. I was over at. Uh, I was teaching some tennis classes over at what was it, Rock Quarry,
Hmm.
and these young men were here and they were competing. They were African and Caribbean. I think they were at Central, and they
Right.
were competing with Duke. And you know, Duke didn't want to let nobody know, but they were over there whooping behind.
Whipping their behinds.
They were they were they were beating these people in like 40 minutes.
Hmm. Nah, they
Zero.
don't. Yeah, they don't play. And like I
No.
said, they've gotten into all kinds of sports. They're into rugby because I know that there's some rugby players around here,
Yes.
and they're
Yeah,
into
we doing
rugby
everything.
and definitely into soccer because we know that a lot of the African teams are strong in soccer and everything like that. But even you talking about baseball because I know that growing up in rural North Carolina, I remember we had a true sandlot field. I was actually joking with a friend of mine. I was going like, I love playing in the outfield because we didn't have that many hitters that could hit out to the outfield, so you just kind of like sat there and played tiddlywinks and hope that somebody would get out by an infield hit so that you could come back into the infield and have your turn at bat. But yeah, I remember sitting back there in the field in Warrenton, going into the outfield like, ain't nobody hitting out here.
That's great. They were like how fast who they were competing with each other who could get off the court the fastest,
Right.
who could beat their folks. And so and it's the same thing with even fencing. You know, you have black people who are we're in every sport. We just are.
We're in every sport. I was actually on my show on Wednesday. I had Joe Rose on, who I mentioned was working with me on the tour, the history tour, and everything like that. But Joe Rose is also now getting trained in fire, but she is an aerialist and has been an aerialist for a long time and everything like that. So she does
Whoa.
like that aerial work that you see at like the
Whoa.
festivals and stuff like that. But yeah, she is a amazing aerialist.
That's crazy. Look at that. Look at that. We what can't we do?
What can't we do?
What can't we do? So anyway. That's who it is. And so I was like, June is right. It was, I had no idea. And even with JFK, I did not know. I did not put that together that 1863, you know, that was the
Mhm.
Emancipation Proclamation.
That's a
And
bit.
then 1963, he was trying to visit this. And I was like, oh, I didn't put that together. I was like, I didn't know those states were that close.
Yeah, they're very close.
Wow, white people are mad. They
It's
big mad.
amazing. Amazing.
It is amazing how much, how important it is to know these systems and how it cycles. Because here we are.
It
So
cycles around.
it does. Every time they lose a little bit more, though, don't they? They don't see the cycles.
They don't see the cycles, and then they do crazy things. Like I was just earlier today doing our show before you, the news show, and everything like that. And Rick Rosner was pointing out to me because he watched the game. I watched the game too, but I didn't see the beginning of the game between the
Uh-huh.
Knicks and the Spurs and everything. But apparently, that crazy person fell asleep at the game. So
I
apparently, they
saw
showed
it.
him that he was asleep at the game. So he,
Saw it.
they said he's a Knicks. He claims to be a Knicks fan. If you're a fan, why ain't you watching the whole game? You're supposed to be like a legitimate fan. That don't sound like a legitimate fan.
He's so selfish. Why are you even going to the game when you know people love this team? You don't even like basketball for real. And this is for the people. It's not for you.
Not for him, but
Stay
yeah,
home.
but he thinks everything's for him.
He does. He definitely does. He's a 2 year old. He's three,
Yeah,
maybe three. So anyway, but anyway,
he might be 3 years old. So what's that old saying? Was it what you just said about young people 6 going on 25? Well, he's because I think his birthday is coming up in
on the
another day or two, so he's 80
fourth.
going on 2.
Yes, he is complete regression, complete regression.
80 going on 3.
Yeah, yeah, and 3, the reason I say 3 is because 3s are
Terrible.
terrible. They're terrible 2s, but 3s are off the chain, so
Yeah.
he is
80 going on 3. How about that?
all right, mama.
All right.
Yes. All
We
right.
go with your regular commercials. We'll actually have one about the book that I know you got a copy of, so I got to
Yeah.
see if we can't get Mr. Captain to sign your book and everything. But on that note,
Well,
we'll
when
get
is
ready to
he
get
gonna
out of here.
be here? When is he
Huh?
gonna be? Is
He
he
lives here in the area, so I just got to get him to maybe even come and talk to your students and everything. But he lives here in the area. He just
that would
actually
be great.
recently got married about a year and a half ago, and everything like
Oh,
that. So he married a Latin lady from Miami, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. So he said, well, I see we
that is
can't get him to come on and talk to your students about this bitter inheritance and everything like that.
all right then. I would have read it by then. It's the summer now. I'm
Right.
not.
Yeah.
I have time to read. So yeah. All right. Sounds
Sounds
great.
good. Sounds good. All right.
They were never supposed to win. In a system built to keep Black families landless, one decision changed everything. Bitter Ground's Inheritance tells the true story of heirs who fought through Jim Crow, courts, challenges, and silence to claim land, wealth, and legacy. Told by descendant Captain Newborn, this is more than a story, it's a rare victory. A must-read that exposes America's hidden past. Get your copy today.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I know my mother.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I can play the drum.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I can work with my hands.
I'm a St. Sya student.